Look, you can't look at the horrendous scenes of suffering of women and children caught up in rubble, of dying in the numbers that we're seeing, and not in your right mind want to see a cease to this fighting. But the truth is that there was a ceasefire before October the 7th. It had lasted for many, many months and years. It meant that people were crossing Gaza and working in Israel. It meant that money was flowing through Qatar into Gaza and supporting aid and the civilian population. That ceasefire held, but it was broken on October the 7th. It is extremely unlikely, despite wanting it, that we will bring it about after just 3 weeks. And I say that because Hamas are still firing rockets into Israel, and because the hostages are still being kept, over 230 of them. You can't get a ceasefire in those circumstances.
The Labour position is this: no ceasefire. Israel has a right to defend itself. Strikes should continue in order to degrade Hamas infrastructure. In the meantime, the Gaza Health Ministry say there have been over 8,000 deaths. Can you, in good conscience, still hold this line? Shouldn't you think again?
Well, I mean, we're all anguished when we see the images of what's happening in Gaza. Everybody wants to see a reduction in the humanitarian suffering of the innocent Palestinians. And Keir Starmer said in his speech today that you've just reported on, he totally understands why people are arguing for a ceasefire. We want to see the alleviation of suffering. Everyone in Labour wants to see that. But he says, and the important argument he was making there is a ceasefire is not for now the correct approach for two reasons. First of all, any ceasefire freezes a conflict, and therefore Hamas fighters, weaponry, command centres would still all be in place.
But
And secondly, what we all want to see, which is more aid, less civilian casualties, and a reduction in the conflict, can best and most likely be secured by a break in the fighting or humanitarian pauses. And that's something that important allies like the US and the European Union also
this is it, isn't it, that he really, rather this is about him wanting to be seen as a Prime Minister in waiting that doesn't want to break ranks with what the UK government are doing or the US government. That's what's going on, isn't it?
No, he's arguing both from a principled and a practical point of view.